Good morrow, my lovely little ghosts, and welcome to the Dark Orchard. I'm Laura, and this is the Black Veil Brides video. As I said in my intro, this is a Black Veil Brides video. More specifically, today I'm going to be talking about Alive and Burning 2. Alive and Burning 2 was a pre-recorded global live streaming event that aired on December 11th, 2020. And the reason there's a 2 involved is because the first Alive and Burning was a live DVD that was released in 2015, and it was a recording of a sold-out show that Black Veil Brides did in Los Angeles. It also won the most anticipated release for that month from Loudwire. So the event that took place this time, Alive and Burning 2, actually aired at 7 p.m. in different time zones, which was absolutely awesome because you got to watch it on your own time. And once you watched it, you could rewatch it again if you wanted to. So they made it very convenient. It was really cool that you could rewatch it a little bit before it went away. Because it wasn't a live show, we got to see different angles that we usually don't get to see. And that's always a thrill. The opening really drew you in. It was a gliding shot of the band, and the Scarlet Cross music video was playing on a projector behind them. They had a projector behind Cece that was playing different things depending on what song they were playing, and specifically Veil comes to mind. I remember getting really excited when we went to the Resurrection tour, and they had the projections behind them. So it was a little reminiscent of that as well. As the camera panned through, the band remained still until the song started, and it was a powerful, grab you in kind of moment. And of course, it's always nice to see a camera specifically on Cece, because when you're standing at the barricade, you don't really get to see Cece much. You get to see him at the beginning when he comes on, or at the end, or if he stands up on his drums, but you never really get to see him, and you don't get to see him play. So it was an overall thrill, especially for me, to see Cece playing with a camera of his own, because it's just something that you don't get to see often. And as I said, the first song was Scarlet Cross, which is their new single from their upcoming album. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited for that upcoming album. How excited I am. It's an album that tells a story, and as we get closer, we're learning more and more about it, and I'm just so hype. The outfits that the boys wore were absolutely stunning, and I especially loved the black mesh shirt that Andy wore instead of just the bare chest that he usually does. And I loved the fact that he kept that jacket on the entire time. Even though usually we see him take it off and just see suspenders, he really committed to the aesthetic with the priest collar and the mesh shirt underneath the jacket. It was all just a cohesive aesthetic, and he committed to it 100%. And I really commend him for that. I think it was so awesome. And you could really see the details in the outfits, especially the silver buttons. The silver buttons really popped on his outfit. And also, I couldn't help but notice Lonnie's glove, and I love Lonnie's little signature glove. I hope he never gets rid of the glove thing, because I think those are super cool. And I remember him saying that he had multiple types that he was planning on wearing during the tour. So I hope that the glove thing continues. I hope it stays sort of a Lonnie signature to have a glove on, because I just think it looks really cool, and it works with his aesthetic. The next song that they played was Faithless, and once again, I'm gonna talk about Cece because I just can't help myself. Cece did hair twirls while he played, or like during breaks when he was playing. Fantastic. It took me back to Sweden. I love that like windmill hair twirl anytime, but it was so cool seeing Cece do it, because again, you don't really get to see that kind of stuff very often. The red hue from the lighting was spectacular. It gave like red, white, and black color shifts depending on the mood of the song, and it was really interesting. I believe even later on they did like a purpley blue light for a different kind of song. Like, the lighting was so perfect on this. And the next song was Coffin. Coffin is still one of my favorite songs. I love the video for it. It's one of those staple Black Veil Bride songs, and they did such a fantastic job with it on this live stream. So during Coffin, Cece. Blew my mind. He did all these like little tricks with his sticks and just was so amazing while he was playing during Coffin. Like, if we get Alive and Burning 2 as a DVD, like we got Alive and Burning as a DVD, make sure to pay attention to Cece during the song Coffin, because he really gave it his all during that song. And you can tell, like, he played around, he looked like he was having so much fun, and that's really important. It's really, really important to see that the band members are enjoying themselves. And the breakdown in Coffin was a absolute masterpiece. It's already a masterpiece, but like, the way they played it during this live stream was just perfect. Just perfect. After Coffin, they played Rebel Love Song, which is another one of my absolute favorite songs. Reminds me of James Dean. And if you know me at all, you know I love James Dean. So, of course, it was great hearing that song. It was great seeing the projections behind them. And I really love how they had so much room on the stage. Like, during high energy songs like this, it gave them a lot of room to move around because there was so much space. Once we had a few high energy songs like Coffin and Rebel Love Song, they transitioned into Lost It All, which is a song that really hits hard with some people. It's one of those really emotional songs. It completely changed the tempo, and you knew the whole mood was just diving down into that more emotional cavern that Black Veil Brides does so well. The beginning of Lost It All, with the almost spoken word part of Lost It All at the very beginning, Andy's hands did that thing that they do where he's like really focused on his hand motions. The man has so much emotion in just his fingers. You can really just see it. So when he was singing the opening lines and his hand was doing the thing that it does, you could really see those giant silver rings, and it was aesthetically pleasing and it looked really cool. So of course I made a note about it because I had to mention it. The absolute highlight of Lost It All is and will always be Jinx on violin. Jinx is absolutely stunning. He's so freaking talented, and we all know it. We all know that we are just blessed to have someone like Jinx as part of the band because of all of his talents, but all of the boys are super, super, super talented. Like, mind-blowingly talented. So, with an all-star band, it makes sense to have someone as fantastic as Jinx being able to play different string instruments and piano and bring a lot of classical elements into a rock band. And there was a moment during this song that I've seen a few people talk about. Jake stepped over to Lonnie, and for a moment they were standing side by side playing, and they smiled at each other. And while it was a very subtle moment, it was very nice to see. You could tell in that very second, that brief second where they smiled, that they were having the best time playing that song. And it makes your heart flutter. There's nothing more relaxing yet empowering than hearing Jinx on violin. And following Lost It All, we got the overture for Wretched and Divine. It's classical, it's melodic, and you can just hear all the different songs that it pulls from as he plays them. So once we got the mellow tempo of the violin in the overture, we went right back into a more high-tempo song with Shadows Die. And these boys are such an absolute mess of talent that it feels like an honor to see them perform. No matter if it's in person, on your phone screen, on a big screen TV, seeing them do a live show and put their absolute all into a performance is just an indescribable experience. And this was the point when I really started focusing on Andy's coat a little more than I should have, and I was paying attention to the details of the tails and wondering if the armpits had vents in them, and I got a little lost in what they were wearing. I enjoyed the music, yes, but I also got lost in the details and the different modifications, and I kind of got lost for a minute, but I still enjoyed the music. Especially when we transitioned over to the Legacy and we got to hear Andy scream, and he did that deep, iconic Andy scream. They absolutely sounded fantastic. I'm not much for screams, but when I was in high school, I was really into screams. Like, I had a friend that was in a band, and that's all he did. Like, the majority of his songs were scream. So I was very into that just because that's what I was used to hearing from him. And ironically, he very much had Andy's old style, like with the thick, long black hair. But that's a story for another time. Back to the present, I'm not as into the screams as I used to be, but when Andy does them, I can deeply appreciate it. Because, of course, they are a big part of a lot of the old songs. And I feel like the screams have really improved over the years. Of course they have, because the more you do screams, the more you improve, the more you learn your own techniques and how your throat and everything works. But my main point to all of that is that they sounded fantastic, and it was enjoyable. So after Legacy, we jumped back into Wretched and Divine, and they played the title track, Wretched and Divine. This was a wonderful surprise. I didn't think they were going to revisit that album after doing the overtures and things. So it was just a really cool jump back into that when they played Wretched and Divine. I loved the projections, the symbols from the era, and different parts of videos and stuff. Like, the projections behind them really added to the overall experience. And of course, Wretched and Divine is my favorite album. It's a lot of people's favorite album, and I feel like it's one of those songs that everybody can connect to. And I really loved how the ending of Wretched and Divine just blended right into the next song, which was Knives and Pins. It just kind of flowed right into it, and it was beautiful. Always a pleasure to hear Knives and Pins evolved for their new voices and their ever-growing talents. And of course, Cece did a really cute drumstick spin during this song, so it was definitely one of my favorite moments. Anytime we got to see Cece up close doing some sort of drum trick, really cool. Did I mention I loved a camera on Cece? I think I mentioned it at least once. So the nostalgia popped out the moment that they started playing Perfect Weapon. If you haven't checked out my testimonial, I sang along to every single word to this, and after I watched Alive and Burning 2, I actually switched over to YouTube and watched the music video for Perfect Weapon, because that music video just brings back so many memories, and I just always great hearing such a nostalgic song. That video just means so much to me, so the song means so much to me. One thing I noticed during this song though is the wide stance that Lonnie has when he plays, and I think that's absolutely adorable. Precious. So fun seeing that long-legged boy wide straddle while playing his bass. So adorable, so fun. An interesting aspect to the entire frame of seeing the whole band. Like, it just looks awesome and it looks fun. You can really tell when he's getting into a song because his stance gets a little wider and he gets really deep into the bass, and I like that. I like that you can really tell that he's getting into the music. And because they played greatest hits, of course they followed up Perfect Weapon with Fallen Angel. It was so different hearing Fallen Angels not from the barricade, not from the audience, because I'm so used to when they sing, the audience singing too, and just the back and forth that's expected during this song. So it was odd hearing the song performed without that back and forth. It's like that with a lot of the songs, but with this one specifically, you know everyone knows the words and everyone's gonna sing along to it. So it was just a shock. During this song, Lonnie just looked so freaking happy, and Jinx did this riff at the end that was just like, oh my god. Speaking of the end, the next song was In the End. Again, see my testimonial video to know why this song means so much to me. In the End is of course one of my favorite songs ever, and it made me miss my best friend so much. I haven't seen him in over a year, And of course, hearing our song just brought back those emotions. So it was nice hearing that and feeling those feels. It gives me that feeling like I don't know whether I want to giggle or cry. And it's just like a joy feeling, but a somber feeling at the same time. I absolutely love that about In the End. The sad thing is, with Black Veil Brides, usually In the End is the last song. Just like Ice Nine Kills play It Is the End, and that is their final song. When you have a song that has end in the name, of course it's going to be your last song. And for Alive and Burning 2, In the End was the final song. And the best part of all was that we ended the whole thing with a big, giant, happy Cece smile. Which in turn made me smile, because Cece always makes me sad when they don't play New Year's Day. New Year's Day is one of those songs that I feel has been completely forgotten. And yet it is my favorite Black Veil Bride song. I thought for sure, with Lonnie Eagleton joining the band, that Andy would think it was funny to add New Year's Day to the list, and then point at Lonnie when he says, "Let the eagle fly." I think it's hilarious. I'd love to see it. Not at all biased that it's my favorite song, but I think it would be funny. But alas, Alive and Burning 2 did not feature New Year's Day. So I'm just going to briefly mention that there was an after show after Alive and Burning 2 aired, and that after show was so funny. They had a lot of Lonnie talk, a lot of joking about Lonnie, and just including him, and it was really fun to hear the answers to a lot of different questions. And I'm going to quote Andy here, and there's an energy in rock and roll that is dependent on crowd energy. Quoth Andy Bierzak. And he's right. There is an energy that rock music depends on, and it's kind of hard to feel that energy, and you can't really feed off of a crowd when you're playing in an empty room for just a few people, a few crew members, and your bandmates. Like, it's not exactly the same. It's not the same as recording, but it's not the same as being in front of an audience either. It's sort of a middle ground. You don't get that like instant gratification of crowd feedback. So while the live shows are amazing and a great alternative to everything that's happening in 2020, it is sad to not be able to reciprocate in the energy that the band is giving in an instant gratification sort of way. With music, I don't think I've ever said this before, but I am very deep into the lyrical content and the message portion of songs versus the musical standpoint of songs. I can appreciate the musical side, but I am very deep into the lyrical side and the overall meaning in a song, or in an album as a whole, as with Wretched and Divine. So that's the side that I really am drawn towards, and that's why Black Veil Brides is one of my favorite bands. Because even though each individual one of them have so many talents, so many strong talents that lean towards the musical side of things, they also have those strong lyrics. And those lyrics are so powerful, and it really draws me in, because that's something that I really look for when I'm looking at songs. They 1000% always deliver with that. So final thoughts, there will never be anything that beats a live performance in person, in front of the stage, really getting into every single song, having people pushed up against you, no personal space, feeling the metal of the barricade being pushed against you because everyone wants to be where you are, looking up at the stage and seeing that split second of a smile that Andy gives you because he's looking in your direction of the stage, or being able to see all the finger work on guitars that are right in front of your face. Nothing will ever beat that feeling. But you can tell with these live stream performances, the band, as well as everyone involved, work so hard to deliver the absolute best shining experience that they could possibly give, given the circumstances. And I have no complaints whatsoever. I think these live shows are fantastic. And I really hope that we do get an Alive and Burning 2 DVD, because one, it would be awesome to add to the collection, and two, it would be awesome to just look back at this and see all the time and all the everything that went into this, and you know, pick out the details and see those CC tricks and see the Lonnie Jake smile again. Really pay attention to the small things that you may not have noticed before. So for the comments down below, out of the songs that they played during Alive and Burning 2, which one is your favorite? Just for reference, I'm going to name them off again, just so you don't have to go back through the video and try to remember which one they played. Scarlet Cross, Faithless, Coffin, Rebel Love Song, Lost It All, Shadows Die, The Legacy, Wretched and Divine, Knives and Pins, Perfect Weapon, Fallen Angels, or In the End. Which one of those was your favorite part of the performance? And if you don't talk to me about that, talk to me about something, because I just love for you to talk to me down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you come around again soon. Say bye. Bye.